Alright, call Allah Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone of well. I am not a member. However, I've entered into the labors, peace, and blessings to the sincere brothers and sisters. Whatever your lot may be. I want you to hear something really quick. A little TikTok I stumbled upon. I'm actually going to, I think she has a YouTube channel. I need to find it and maybe do something a little more exhaustive on this. But I won't say anything. I'm gonna just let this play, and I really want to key in on one word, and you hear it a lot when it comes to like nukes and mutually assured destruction and things of that nature. How they always talk about what happens after nuclear war, or after they've been released and they've hit and they've done what they need to do. And this is you know so-called white on white crime, because this is E doing this to E. Tribe versus tribe, and in some of their own tribe, like the Brits tested a lot of things, and of course the Americans tested a lot of things on their own people, or they had them present. But let's let this play. I didn't want this to be too long. It's just something I want to hit on, falling in line with a video that I'm going to post, because I did a couple and I'm just going to upload them all at once. But it falls in line with the most recent one that I've already done, which I'm going to upload first, about fearing the Lord, fearing judgment, being on the right side of judgment.
It's buckle up, because I'm about to tell you exactly what would happen in the event of a nuclear attack, which is something that the media will never tell you. I'm going to rely on the words of my colleague, Dr. Ira Helfand here, because he puts it so clearly. And
then hold on. Let's get I believe it's spelled this way. All right, this is the physician that she is referring to, and actually, I may, I brought this out, just do a part 2 and add unto it from here. All right.
There's no need for me to try to improve on that. So I'm going to describe to you the effects, specifically like the humanitarian, the medical effects of a 20 megaton bomb exploding over Boston. We're both based in Boston, so that's the example, but obviously you can abstract that to any city. And so just a little background, a megaton is 1 million tons of TNT. So the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima
wasn't even close to being a 20 megaton.
About 12.5 kilotons or 12.5 thousand tons of TNT. So this weapon that we're talking about today is roughly 1,700 times more powerful. So stay with me, because the size of nuclear bombs today has evolved from the 1960s so that they are smaller but more accurate. So in reality, an attack on Boston today would involve not this one 20 megaton huge bomb, but probably 10 to 15 smaller weapons. So even if the total megatonnage was actually less, the explosive force would be spread out more efficiently across the metropolitan area. So in that case, the actual destruction would be even greater than what I'm about to describe now. Still, it's a lot easier to conceptualize one big explosion rather than lots of small ones. So even though...
Right, which brings you to that lake of fire. Before I let her continue, it just goes to show you, man, the Bible is on point. If you're given the Spirit to understand, the Bible is truly, truly on point. And if you have any sense, you would fear what's coming, because it is coming. And it's very easy to say, oh, I'll just deal. Oh, you'll just deal with, whatever comes. But at the end of the day, that lake of fire, weeping and gnashing of teeth, what the Christians call hell, right? But there's another scripture that says death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. All of that. So that lake of fire, what you're going to see, is all of those nuclear weapons. And she just gave an example of 15, but the scriptures give you a lot more. 200,000, right? So let me get one before I let her continue. Yeah, death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. That second death. What was the first one? The flood. And the second one, boom, right here. And water and fire are cleansing agents. And Babylon the Great needs to be cleansed. But it ain't gonna be no inhabitants after it. Why? Because of that nuclear destruction. Let's see. And I saw the dead, small and great, standing before God. Books were open. And another book was opened, which was the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. So, again, this falls in line with the video I did previously about reading, learning, and applying these scriptures to your everyday life. So, being in obedience, being under the vibration of Yahweh Yahushua instead of being under the vibration of this world. Let's see. But yeah, we that's the point I wanted. Was with the lake of fire. So death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. Give me. How about we do an NLT? Then death and the grave were thrown into the lake of fire. This. Okay. I just wanted to see if it read any different in the NLT. All right. Let's let her continue.
The destruction that I'm about to describe is likely an underestimation of what would actually happen. It still gives an adequate sort of approximation of the effects. So here we go. Within 1/1000th of a second, a fireball would form, reaching out for 2 miles in every direction, 4 miles across. Temperatures would rise to 20 million degrees Fahrenheit, and everything, buildings, trees, cars, people, would be vaporized. To a distance.
Heat. That's the key word. Every time they bring up something, it's heat, 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 the extreme heat. And she said 1/1000th of a millisecond. Um, Isaiah 21:9, and behold, here cometh the chariot of men with a couple of horsemen. And he answered and said, Babylon is fallen, and all the graven images of her gods he hath broken unto the ground. Revelation 14:8. And therefore another angel said, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of her wine, of the wrath of her fornication. Right? Babylon is fallen over and over. You see that? It's become the habitation of devils, every foul spirit and cage of every unclean, hateful bird. So it'll just be a desolate place of desert animals and things of that nature. In 1 hour, because remember, she said in a millisecond, 1/1000th of a second. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Revelation 18:10. So these are the ships that were standing afar off. Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And people are still saying that Babylon is the Vatican, but if you go into this chapter, it talks about how the merchants and the ship excuse me, and the ships were a little bit farther off, away from the dock, where they would offload goods and such. And they were, I believe that is this chapter. Let me just make sure before I start flapping my damn gums. Lament, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, right? So all these nations that have partaken of the wine of the philosophy, who have acted like Babylon the Great, who have accepted the ways and the lifestyle and the gods of Babylon the Great, right? That's that wine, and that's why these other nations are going to feel some sort of destruction. They're going to get some sort of wrath along with Babylon, because they accepted. Um, Babylon gave them that wine, that their philosophy, their way of life. They gave it unto these nations, and these nations accepted it, and that is why they are falling apart now. And they're trying to go back to their old ways, because it just don't work. All right, he shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see her smoke of her burning, standing afar off, fear of torment, saying, Alas. All right. Yep, and the merchants of the earth shall weep, mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise anymore. Okay, so all of these imports and exports, they go to and fro Babylon the Great because all of these nations get rich. And if you understand anything about geopolitics and economics, um, Babylon the Great is a huge portion of, or when it comes to the world economic stage. But they started trying to do away with that dollar now too. All right, so let's go. Let's let her finish.
Of 4 miles in every direction, the blast would produce pressures of 25 pounds per square inch and winds in excess of 650 miles per hour. Forces of this magnitude can destroy essentially anything that we build as human beings, including reinforced concrete and steel structures. Even deep underground bomb shelters would be crushed. To a distance of 6 miles in every direction, the heat would still be intense enough to melt sheet metal. And to a distance of 10 miles in every direction, the blast wave would create pressures of 7 to 10 pounds per square inch and winds of 200 miles per hour. To a distance of at least 16 miles in every direction, the heat would ignite all easily flammable materials.
The heat would ignite all easily flammable materials. If it can burn, it will burn. Elements melt with fervent heat. I know I'm in 2 Peter, but no, wait, one more. And that's what I want to key in on. Heat. That, man, I don't even think people understand. So you have high winds, high pressure, high heat, huge blast radius, and we're not even talking about the fallout afterwards. Because you can't plant food, you can't do anything. And the Lord said Babylon would utterly be destroyed. So every piece of this place is going to be touched by heat, pressure, fire, wind, all of it. And I don't know about you, but that's not something I want to be a part of. I'd rather be looking down on it from a chariot than to be in it. 2 Peter is 3. Let's scroll down. Okay, so a new heaven and an earth, right? So renewed. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also and all the works that are therein shall be burnt up. And it's not talking about the earth in its entirety, like oinkameni, but the area that the respective area we're speaking of, scorched. You heard what she said.
Blast would produce pressures of 25 pounds per square inch and winds in excess of 650 miles per hour. Forces of this magnitude can destroy essentially anything that we build as human beings, including reinforced concrete and steel structures. Even deep underground bomb shelters would be crushed. To a distance of 6 miles in every direction, the heat would still be intense enough to melt sheet metal. And to a distance of 10 miles in every direction, the blast wave would create pressures of 7 to 10 pounds per square inch and winds of 200 miles per hour.
Right. And then what am I looking for? Smite their eyes shall consume away in their holes. Here we go. Zechariah 14 and 12. Straight to the point. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord, or wherewith Yahweh, will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes. So even with a regular fire, so say if your corpse is getting cremated, the eyes burn. Well, if you're being burned alive, your eyes and your tongue are the first thing to kind of burn through. I'm not quite sure on the tongue, but I'm pretty sure the eyes burn. So if we're talking about fervent heat, and not to mention 25 pounds of pressure per square inch, while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. So this is the judgment of the Lord. This is not the false lowercase g God of Christianity who loves and accepts everything. It don't matter if you a boy punching other boys in the behind, or you a transformer, or you just do what thou wilt, do whatever you want. It's all about love. That is the God of Christianity. But the true God of the Bible is about being just, is about vengeance, is about righteousness, is about a balance on a holy throne. And people are going to start to see, they're going to recognize, and they're going to be mad that Christian church or the Catholic or whoever it was lied to them. They're going to want to know, why did you not warn me about him? And the people that you scoffed at, who tried to warn you, yeah, I believe through Spirit of Poverty, I believe that in the moment of your worst fear, of your terror, of your judgment, that the first thing you're gonna think of is those men on the street corners, or in them, quote unquote, in them dresses, their garments, right? The Lord told them to, gird up their, or I'm sorry, to wear those garments, because we're in a lower state, we're in captivity, and you're gonna think of those men in the garments saying, "Damn, I wish I would have just paid attention, but it'd have been too late, or it will have been too late." And again, I don't know about you, but I have no interest in being on the left side or on the wrong side of judgment, on the wrong side of the wrath of the Lord. Because whether you think it's coming tomorrow or 10 years from now, it doesn't matter. His ways are higher than our ways, right? Isaiah 55, I believe. Or is it 45 and 55? That ain't it. Okay. Or, wait, hold on. 55 and 5? Behold. While we're here, Isaiah 55 and 7. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto Yahweh. And that is speaking of the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Or if you look like someone of another nation, but this word resonates with you, then it is more than likely for you. And he will have mercy upon him and to our power, for he will abundantly pardon. And I'm looking to be pardoned. Maybe it's Isaiah 45. And I may have misspoken. I probably said 55 before. My thoughts are not your thoughts. Mm, dang it. I think that's how it's worded. I was 55. Man, the water, how about you, man? So I was doubting myself. Isaiah 55 and 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith Yahweh. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So whatever judgment comes upon this place, however harsh and cruel it seems, is because you are under the vibration of the West and in this new world. You are a friend of this world. The light is not in you, the spirit is not in you. And that is why your eyes and your tongue will consume you while you still stand on your feet.
This is part 2, and we're now up to 16 miles in every direction from ground zero. So do it to a distance of at least 16 miles in every direction. The heat would ignite all easily flammable materials: paper, cloth, wood, leaves, gasoline, heating oil, starting hundreds of thousands of fires. Fanned by blast winds still in excess of 100 miles per hour, these fires would merge into a giant firestorm more than 30 miles across and covering 800 square miles. Everything within this area would be consumed by flames. Temperatures would rise to 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit, and everyone would die. Beyond this,
and everyone would die. All right, since she's talked about 25 pounds per square inch, so let's say the average guy is 5'9" is average, right? We're in Babylon the Great, so let's bring that to 200 pounds. Let's see. The fouling of the body surface areas. Okay, all right. Well, you get it. I ain't gonna get into that. That's now we getting into math. So you get it. All right, 25 pounds per square inch on your body of pressure. High winds, high heat, high pressure. Everybody dies.
great conflagration, the destruction would continue. At 21 miles from ground zero, the blast would still produce pressures of 2 pounds per square inch, enough to shatter glass windows and turn each of them into hundreds of lethal missiles flying outward from the center at 100 miles an hour.
Now you got shrapnel. Now the Lord has everything covered. If the fire don't get you, the shrapnel will. If that don't get you, the sword will. The sword within and famine without. Or famine within and the sword without, roughly paraphrased. But you gonna get got.
Even as far as 40 miles from ground zero, anyone who turned to gaze at the sudden flash of light would be blinded by retinal burns. 1 million people would die instantly. Another million or more would suffer injuries from which they could not recover, whatever medical care were available to them. Perhaps another million would suffer wounds from which they might recover if intensive medical care were available, which we know, and I can cover this in another video, we know that there is no city currently on Earth that has the capacity to respond to the humanitarian effects of a nuclear attack.
Right, and that's why it's the Mutually Assured Destruction Act is in place, or for now at least. But that's all I wanted to get. Apparatus, I will look at this and add more to it. So I pray that you're edified. Shalom.